You're on Meet the Press. Tony Abbott's campaign to destroy the carbon tax has taken him to practically every workplace in the country. Well, it's good morning and welcome back to the program, National President of the CFMEU, Tony Maher. Good morning, Mr Maher.
Morning.
Well, he's right. Of course, if the coal industry was to close down, it would be disastrous for our country.
Oh yeah, our economy is entirely dependent on the resources boom at the moment, but the likelihood of him being believed by coal miners is very low because it's booming all around us. Mines are doubling in capacity, new rail lines and ports are being built. The industry is pouring investment into the industry, and they wouldn't be doing that if they believed Tony Abbott.
But that's without a carbon tax. Martin Ferguson, the Resources Minister, during the week said that it is feasible that one or two mines will have to close.
What he said was that there's a need for assistance in the gassy sector of the market. There's 23 mines out of about 150 that have high levels of methane. The CPRS package provided $1.5 billion in assistance to help abate that methane, and that can be effective. And that would have lowered the cost per tonne of coal to an acceptable level for those gassy mines. Now, that package ought to be repeated.
So, Mr Maher, your bottom line is you want that level of assistance to the industry because, of course, the Greens want a much lower level of assistance for the coal mines.
The Greens have got to decide whether or not they want to usher in a price on carbon or veto one. I mean, the truth is that these schemes have been introduced all around the world in a way that hasn't shut down industry.
Yes.
That's what governments do. And that's what needs to occur here. It can be done without it adversely affecting consumers, and it can be done without shutting down industry.
You've been a long-term advocate of the need to tackle climate change. Would there be a risk that if the government capitulated to green demands that the CFMEU and Tony Maher might withdraw that support?
Oh, we would come out and oppose it. It's always been conditional on support for gassy mines, and I don't think that...
So there is a chance the CFMEU could withdraw that support if
I don't think we'd have to lift a finger because they would not get a scheme up. The fact is that if jobs were lost, that would be playing into Abbott's hands, and they're not going to do that.
Could we just change subject here to the state of the Labor Party? Why do you think Labor is doing so badly at the moment?
Well, I think it's because they're sticking to their guns. I heard the Prime Minister outline at the beginning of the year that it would be a tough year and that they were going to focus on fewer items but focus on delivery. So the flood levy, she ushered that through Parliament. That was a very good thing. Many Queenslanders are happy about that. The NBN and a price on carbon.
But the NBN is very popular, and surely sticking to your guns on other things, even carbon, wouldn't get you to a 27% primary vote. Do you think it was the broken promise on carbon that was important to hear?
Oh, that was an element on it. I mean, it's not a carbon tax. Anyone who's followed the game for more than 5 minutes knows that it's an emissions trading scheme with a fixed price on carbon.
Well, it could be a carbon tax for up to 5 years.
Yes, but it's not really a tax. That was the wrong label to give it, but it's out of the bag, so that's fine. Call it a carbon tax. That has been a problem, but what the government has got to do to restore its fortunes is to nail it in legislation in the second half of the year. And we've done polling, as most modern organisations do, and it's very clear that the level of support for a carbon price jumps from 25 to 61%. Once you explain generous compensation, effective industry assistance, and money for restructuring the energy sector.
Tony Maher,
and it jumps to 61%.
Tony Maher, Kevin Rudd is seen by voters at least as being more popular, twice as popular as Julia Gillard. Do you think it gets to the point where the government should return to Kevin Rudd as leader? Can you envisage that sort of scenario?
Well, I can't really. I mean, these are things for the Parliamentary Labor Party. But
you're the head of a very, very large union affiliated to the Labor Party.
Yeah, but we focus on running the union and leave the running of the Labor Party to the Labor Party, and they're quite capable of doing a good job and a bad job.
Suggest they're not doing a great job of it at the minute.
Well, I think they are, actually. I visit Canberra a fair bit and talk to a lot of ministers and backbenchers, and there doesn't appear to be panic.
So you don't think there's any panic in the ranks at present?
I don't think that, well, it hasn't been expressed to me. I think they're focused on delivering what they need to. And if they don't deliver, they will have problems. But the second half of this year is the key, and climate change is the major one they have to know.
You are a member of the Labor Party, and one of the issues that some people have been speaking out on, including union leaders and former leaders like Doug Cameron, is this whole issue of gay marriage. Where do you stand on that?
Well, it's not something our union's turned its mind to.
What about you individually?
Personally, I think everybody should have equal rights, but it's not something that the union is campaigning on.
But you would support it if it went to conference. You'll be a delegate to to the national conference later this year. You'd support. There will be a push to introduce some sort of same-sex marriage legislation. You would support that.
Yes, but these are not the big issues. These are important issues to some, but they are not the big issues. The big issues are the economy, the restructuring associated with climate change, jobs, filling the labour shortage we've got. They're the big issues.
All right, and thank you very much for joining us today, Tony Maher.
Thank you.
And thanks also to our panel, Michelle Grattan and Steve Lewis.